I have shared several times recently that I have pretty much gotten off of social media. However, as a small business owner who has videos, who posts to YouTube, it's very hard not to get sucked in by some YouTube videos and shorts. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on to look for one thing or to do my business stuff. And 20 minutes later, I'm just sucked into the black hole of whatever it is that I'm watching. YouTube knows what I like. And I also do subscribe to some channels. One of those channels is the Holderness family. I really like a lot of the stuff that they put out there. They're entertaining. I enjoy their podcast. And one of their videos, they're super creative. And they'll do little parodies and they'll sing little songs, and Penn, the husband, will make up songs and all of that kind of stuff. Penn and Kim are right at my age. So Kim just turned 50. Penn, I think, is a year or two older than her. I am a year and a half older than Kim. So like they're right at our age. They do a lot of focus on perimenopause and aging and Alzheimer's and ADHD. And they had this video about protein that stuck with me so much. And I wish that I could take either the video, which I'll put it up in YouTube if I'm allowed to do that. If not, it'll go down in the description. And if you're listening, I wish I could have taken that audio and put it on there, but I'm not, the rules are a little unclear with this. So I'm just going to read to you the lyrics. So this is a really peppy song and I don't sing, but you can get the picture. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So here's some of the lyrics. Eat it now, because for every meal and every snack, you have to eat a ludicrous amount of protein. Just eat a lot of protein and you'll totally be fine, but just don't eat too much, but also eat it all the time. How many of us feel that way? I know I do. I mean, it does feel like a full-time job. And I think that it might even be a lyric a little bit later in that video. It's gotten to be so much. The protein snacks, the proteinified foods that we just typically eat, it's all out there. And I totally understand how overwhelming it is. I am beginning a mini series called Common Sense Approach, or Common Sense. And I am going to take kind of these hot topics and just give you a common sense approach. So today is our first one, and we're talking about protein. I want to do it in a way that is actually useful, where it's not overwhelming and it's not obsessive. Because the thing is, the protein conversation is so loud. I mean, the people are just screaming at you all the time to eat more protein. And you scroll past one thing telling you to hit like 200 grams a day. And then the other one, or the next one, is warning you about your kidneys and, you know, that you shouldn't have too much of it. And you're just standing in the grocery store trying to figure out what to have for lunch. Like, why is this so hard? So today I'm giving you this common sense version. This is based off of real research. The why of it does matter. I do believe in integrating gentle nutrition, but so does your actual life. And I hope in this shorter episode that you will have a few simple things that you can do and a lot of permission not to make this harder than it needs to be. Now, one quick note before we dive in, I am drawing from two sources that I deeply trust. One of them is Dr. Stacy Sims, who specializes in female physiology and nutrition. And the other one is Molly Galbraith and Girls Gone Strong. Both of these organizations, both of these women educate from research done on women, which matters so much more than I think we previously realized. One thing I have learned over the last several years is a lot of nutrition science, and quite honestly, a lot of exercise science, is based on young men in their 20s. That's not us. I have two young men in their 20s, and let me tell you, everything about us is very different. Our nutritional needs, our physical needs, etc. Also, just be aware as we go into this is general guidance. So if you have specific concerns, please work with a registered dietitian. If you need one and you're specifically looking for one who is not diet culture-y, reach out to me and either put something in the comments, or if you are listening on just an audio podcast, click the link that says click here to text thoughts on today's episode, and I can help you get in touch with a registered dietitian. I'm super fortunate that I've kind of made this little network. And if you want to expand on any of this, go back to season 22, episodes 1 through 4, where I did a 4-part series on protein. So this is kind of all of that consolidated together with that common sense approach. Let's start with talking about what protein actually does. It's one of the 3 macronutrients in all foods. All foods are some combination of protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Protein is made up of amino acids, which are basically like the building blocks that your body uses for just about everything. We have talked about sore muscles recently on this podcast. It's for rebuilding those muscles. It's for keeping your ligaments and your tendons strong. It's good for your immune system. It's good for hormone regulation, including insulin, which does affect your blood sugar. There are 20 common amino acids, and 9 of them are what's called essential amino acids. These 9 cannot be produced by the body and must be consumed by diet. The other 11 can be produced by the body. Now, one of these amino acids is particularly important as it relates to muscles, and that is leucine. Leucine is what triggers muscle protein synthesis, which is just kind of a sciencey way of saying it signals your body to build and repair muscle. So when you strength train and create those little micro tears in your muscle fibers, leucine is part of what tells your body, hey, we got to rebuild this. We got to get a little stronger because we've got those tears, and so we've got to build over it. Animal proteins tend to be higher in leucine. Plant proteins are a little bit lower, which is fine, but it just means that if you are eating plant-based, you may need a higher volume of plant protein to get that same leucine signaling. So it's not a problem, just something to be aware of. We need more protein as we get older. Here's my favorite analogy for this. Think about a brand new cell phone. The battery is awesome. It lasts for days, but as the phone gets older, you have to charge it more often. By the time it is a few years old, you're plugging it in twice a day to ramp up that battery. It's funny, back in season 22, I gave this example, and I said, I've got an iPhone 12. I need to charge it at least once throughout the day. I still have that same iPhone 12. Our side note, our iPhones used to crap out after 2 years. And now I'm kind of I have no reason to get a new one. So I'm not, because that just seems wasteful. But I'm like, come on, phone, you're so old. I still have my iPhone 12. I just have to plug it in a little bit more often. Your body works the same way. As our estrogen declines in perimenopause and beyond, the signal to your muscle cells, that signal responsible for rebuilding, regenerating muscle, that gets weaker. Our muscles just don't regenerate as efficiently as they used to, and we start to lose muscle. This is called sarcopenia, happens to everyone as we age. But here's the good news. You can slow it down. Eating enough protein and in conjunction with strength training are 2 of the most powerful tools you have. And eating more protein won't bulk you up. It will just help you hold on to that muscle you already have, which matters for how you feel, how you move, and what you'll be able to do 10 or 20 years ago. When done in conjunction with that strength training, you are really building that strong foundation. I got to tell you, one of my own personal body markers of if I'm getting enough protein or if I'm not is how well I am recovering in between workouts. If I find that I am very sore, which I just did an episode on I'm sore all the time, what should I do? If I find that I am sore a lot, then it's one indication that, hey, you may need to have more protein, because I do a lot of the other things, but protein can still be a challenge to get enough, which leads me into how much do you actually need? And here's where I have to be honest with you. Number 1, this is nuanced. Number 2, research is always changing, which is good. The research used to say that we should use leeches for blood disorders or something like that. That has changed. And so I don't have a problem with evolving research as we learn more, as we have more comprehensive studies. So I'm okay with that. But because of that, we're kind of getting a lot of different information. And also your needs will depend on your activity level, on your age, on your health, your hormones. And that's kind of why you will see so many different numbers. They're not wrong, they're just addressing different people. And in our day and age, one challenge is we're scrolling along and we're seeing these reels or these shorts or these 30-second clips of someone saying, this is what you need to do, not realizing if we are even part of the group that they are talking to, or if they are allowing for the nuance in all of our unique bodies. That being said, here's a practical range. The US RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. 1 kilogram is equal to about 2.2 pounds. So don't just think, oh, well, I don't really know how to do the conversion. I'm, just going to go with 1-to-1. No. At a minimum, at least double it. But 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds, which means for all of you in America listening, that is about 1.76 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And that's really just a minimum. For active women in our age and stage, this perimenopause and beyond, the research points to really somewhere between 1.4 and 2.3 grams per kilogram of body weight. That's a big range because we have different needs. If you are a 170-pound woman, that's roughly 108 to 177 grams a day, compared to the RDA of about 61 grams. So that's a pretty meaningful difference. And actually, one thing that I like in that wide range of 108 to 177 is it allows us to consider all of those nuances that are appropriate to all of us individually. I'll be honest, it can be very hard to get 108 grams of protein. So here's what I typically try to do and what I recommend. We want to try and get anywhere between like 20 and 40 grams of protein 3 times a day. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I have said like between 25 and 35 or 25 and 30. I mean, again, this is nuanced. What works for you? What makes you feel good? But somewhere between 20 and 40 grams of protein 3 times a day. That also keeps the right amount of amino acids circulating through your system, which is also what supports your muscles. So that will add up to somewhere between 60 and 160 grams of protein. My hope is if you are lighter in one area, so maybe for breakfast, you will have 20 grams of protein, which is not uncommon for me. It kind of depends on what I'm having, but I am typically on the lighter side for that for breakfast, but I'll have more at dinner and I'll have a little bit more at lunch. And so I'm kind of making up for it, but I'm still having those amino acids throughout the day. So this is not a formula. This is just guidance. And for those of you, by the way, who don't want to think in terms of grams and you don't want to weigh your food and all of that kind of stuff, just look at the palm of your hand, especially if you're having meat. A serving of protein is about the size and thickness of your palm. That's going to be about 20 to 30 grams. And that to me is not overwhelming. You want to have about 3 to 6 palm size servings per day. And just to really reiterate the point, you do want to have that protein going through your system throughout the day. So the preference is to have it kind of portioned out between when you get up to when you have dinner, not just like I'm going to pick, and then have a bunch at dinner. Again, that is so your amino acids can be working through your system all day long and doing things like repairing your muscles. Eating that much can still feel a little overwhelming. And if I'm honest, it feels a bit overwhelming to me. So because of that, you may want to supplement with some protein powder. Protein powder can be useful. I particularly will use it in the morning when I have my first client at 7:10 a.m. I'm just kind of trying to get some fuel in me, and I will have protein powder with some chilled coffee and a little bit of milk. I actually got that recipe from Dr. Stacy Sims. But the key that I really want you to remember is protein powder is a supplement. It supplements the foods that you are eating. It is not a replacement for them. If I was your nutrition coach and you were asking me, I would say, absolutely, go ahead and have a protein powder if that's what fits into your day. But I would encourage you not to have more than one a day, because we want our bodies to be getting protein from the sources that it kind of knows a little bit better what to do with. And that's what our bodies were really designed to thrive on. Now, if you are looking for a powder, just so you know, whey protein isolate is the gold standard for leucine content. So it's going to have the highest amount of leucine. If you can tolerate dairy, that's the one that I would point you to. If you don't, look for a plant-based one where it has a lot of different types of plants. So you're not just getting hemp powder or pea powder or something like that. Pea and rice together are a solid option. I will tell you that I don't tolerate dairy very well, and my personal preference is the Garden of Life Fit because it has a good leucine content. It has 28 grams of protein in there, and it is third-party tested, which if you know me, you know that it is very important for me to have my supplements to be third-party tested. What I don't like on there is it says on the label, high protein for weight loss. And I'm like, don't assume things about me. I just want to buy the protein powder, but that's just my own little hang up. Also, as long as we are talking about protein supplements and powders, I know collagen is something that a lot of people will take, me included. It's wonderful for your joints, for your skin, your hair, your connective tissue, but it's not a complete protein. Wah, wah. I know. It's so sad to hear that because it's like such an easy way to get protein. You know, you dump a scoop in your coffee and bam, you've got another 10 to 20 grams or however much you're putting in. The problem is it's missing one of those 9 essential amino acids, which is tryptophan, and it doesn't contain the BCAAs that support muscle. So collagen is a great supplement, not a muscle builder. So if you're listening to this thinking, okay, how do I actually do this? What I would encourage you to do is just start noticing, like, when am I having protein? About how much is it? You don't need to weigh. You don't need to use an app. You don't need to track. Just start with having some of your awareness. Take a look at your day. Do all of your meals have protein in them? Where are the gaps? For most of us, it's breakfast. I know that is where my biggest gap is. That's usually the lowest protein meal of the day. Can you add an extra egg? Maybe have some yogurt, maybe add some hemp seeds, which are pretty high in protein, to your yogurt if you're having that, or your chia seeds, adding the hemp seeds to the chia seeds. Chia seeds have a little bit of protein, not a ton, but doing that with your oatmeal. So just have that awareness. When you are having your meals, try to have that balance of protein, fat, and carbohydrates, and particularly if you can get some carbohydrates with some fiber, because even though we're talking about protein, fiber is still super important for so many reasons. I would also encourage you to consider some ways that you can make this easier for you. One of the things that I do is I will batch cook either like chicken breasts, or I'll make some meatballs, or I'll even just get a huge fillet of steelhead trout. My husband's allergic to salmon, so we don't do salmon at our house, but we do steelhead trout, which basically looks and tastes like salmon. But I'll cut those into portions and then wrap them up and freeze them. How can you have individual portions of protein that's pretty much like ready to go and easily accessible? If it's not easily accessible, it's not happening for me. This was a very short episode intentionally. Obviously, there's so much more that could be covered, and I did cover a lot more in that season 22, but I just kind of wanted to give you that high level common sense approach. If we're going with common sense, it's like, what makes sense for me to eat and still tries to fulfill the needs that my body has in this age and stage. Protein does matter. It does matter as we get older. And if you're not getting quite enough, you're not alone. However, we absolutely want to be aware of our protein so that we can feel and function as best as we can. But this is not something to obsess over. You're not going to nail it every day. I absolutely don't nail it every day. In this season of my life, I have been gone a lot supporting my mom after my dad passed unexpectedly. And, when I'm traveling, I'm just kind of off my game. I don't have the little creature comforts that I normally do. And I definitely have not been getting the type of guidance that I have been providing you. But when I'm home, I'm trying to. What we want to do is focus on the trend, not these individual meals. And I would even argue, like, not these individual seasons. If I'm gone for 5 days, I'm probably just not getting what I know is right for me. And that's okay. I do it when I get home. And so the trend is that most days I'm getting enough protein. I don't all the time. And I'm okay with that. And really, it comes down to, am I okay with that or not? Just like it comes down to, are you okay with that? Your body, my body, is uniquely created. We know what we need, and we absolutely want to nourish it so we can do what we're called to do. I mean, that's the goal, right? That's always been the goal, is we take care of ourselves so we can do what we are called to do. It is not so we can make a full-time job out of counting our protein grams. Hey, if you want some practical recipes and some batch cooking strategies to go with this, I have a free download called the Protein Prep Playbook that you can get over at gracedhealth.com/protein-playbook. I'll link that in the show notes. And I hope that this episode just turns down that noise a little bit so you can focus on the things that God is wanting you to do every day, and so you can continue to fuel your body in a way that helps you feel and function well. Okay, that's all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.